Well, first, I want to thank you for at least bringing this discussion into an open meeting. For months, much of the pressure has been happening behind closed doors, and it's about time that the public gets to see what's going on. I see two main claims being made in this resolution that was brought before us. The first one is that I supposedly released confidential information. And this isn't only supposedly about breaking an unconstitutional bylaw, but it states in here that I shared confidential information. And number two is that my op-ed supposedly misled the public. Now, I think some of my colleagues have forgotten about what it means to be a public servant, but I'm going to address the first point first. I did not release confidential information. Everything referenced in my article is already public. Oakland Schools documents, district financial data, and communications that are all subject to FOIA. If the public can legally request the same information, then the board cannot claim that it's confidential. How can I be punished for something that has to be revealed to the public anyway? Not to mention, as many community members brought up earlier today, other school districts have been going about this the right way. They've been discussing this millage already at open meetings weeks before my op-ed was published. How can you call this confidential when the conversation is already happening in public with other school districts who are going about it the right way? And also, I'm going to mention to you this. I wrote a couple emails to all of you, to this whole board, regarding this millage because it's complex. And like we heard earlier, there's winners and losers in this debate. I wanted to debate the pros and cons. I heard nothing back. And I also was clear that I hadn't heard any compelling reason that this was confidential. And I also made it clear that I planned to get feedback from constituents. Because after all, Rochester is unique in this situation. We're such a large district. Our vote is likely going to sway this one way or the other. I mean, if this passes, Pontiac has to give away $3 million of their funds to other districts and stuff. I mean, this could really hurt other people too. So anyways, at the time when I said that, it seems that my intentions were understood. But here's the important point. Just because someone asks you not to talk about public information, that does not make the information confidential. Public bodies, it's true. Public bodies are restricted in what they're allowed to withhold from taxpayers, and tax proposals do not meet that threshold. The public has every right to know and weigh in before decisions are made, not after, not the day of the board meeting when we're discussing this. And that includes about whether or not the proposal actually makes it onto the ballot in the first place. Okay, so now regarding your second claim about misleading the public, I listened to all of you, and I have not heard a single example of anything that I said that was untrue. What you mean truly is, you don't think this is true, but what you mean is that you don't like my opinion on this issue. And that is just disagreement. It's not a violation, and it's not misconduct. A trustee is allowed to speak publicly with her constituents about a proposed tax increase. And I was elected to represent the community, not to participate in a strategy that shields a tax proposal from the very people who would pay it. My fiduciary duty is to the residents who fund this district, not to the comfort or political preferences of the board majority or superintendent. Taking me off committees and preventing me from access to information simply for expressing a viewpoint, that's retribution. It is suppression of my First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and it's damaging to my reputation. So I will continue to ask questions, to speak openly, and to ensure that matters affecting taxpayers and students are discussed publicly, not quietly decided first and explained later.